Divorce was the result of our own problems, but then I found an old group chat where my sister-in-law and my husband's friends were actively plotting to break us up. I cheated because I thought I was trapped, and now I know I was the one who built my own cage. The text came at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. Your husband is out at Murphy's bar right now, laughing about how boring you've become. It was from Jake, my husband's best friend, the same Jake who'd been sliding into my DMs for months with these little breadcrumbs of doubt. I should have screenshot that message and shown it to Marcus immediately. Instead, I drove to Murphy's in my pajamas and flip-flops, mascara already running before I even got there. He wasn't there. Of course he wasn't there. Marcus was home asleep in our bed, probably wondering where his wife had gone at 3 in the morning. But Jake was there, waiting at the bar with this knowing smile, ordering me a drink before I even sat down. I figured you'd come, he said, and something about the way he said it made my skin crawl and my heart race at the same time. Marcus doesn't deserve someone who fights for their marriage like you do. The drink tasted like validation and bad decisions. Jake talked about how Marcus had changed since the wedding, how he'd been complaining about our relationship to the guys. Every word was a tiny knife, cutting away at the foundation I thought we'd built over 6 years together. I texted Marcus, can't sleep, went for a drive. The lie came so easily. Jake leaned closer, his hand brushing mine. You know what the difference is between you and Marcus? You still care. He's just going through the motions. I wanted to defend my husband. I wanted to get up and leave. Instead, I finished my drink and ordered another. Jake's attention felt like sunlight after months of feeling invisible in my own home. When he suggested we go back to his place just to talk, I knew exactly what I was doing. The drive to his apartment was silent except for the sound of my wedding ring tapping against the steering wheel. I kept thinking about Marcus, asleep in our bed, trusting me completely. The thought should have stopped me. Instead, it made me angry. Why did he get to sleep peacefully while I was out here drowning? Jake's apartment smelled like expensive cologne and other women. I should have left then. Instead, I sat on his couch and let him pour wine I didn't want while he told me everything I'd been desperate to hear for months. Marcus doesn't see what he has, Jake whispered, his hand sliding up my thigh. If you were mine, I'd worship you every single day. I kissed him because I wanted to feel wanted. I kissed him because I was angry and tired of feeling like a ghost in my own marriage. I kissed him because Jake had spent months convincing me that Marcus didn't love me anymore, and I was too broken to see the manipulation. We had on his couch while my husband slept alone in our bed, probably having good dreams about our future together. I came home at 6 a.m., slipped into bed beside Marcus, and when he rolled over to kiss my forehead and mumbled "Good morning, beautiful," I wanted to. But I didn't confess. I didn't end it with Jake. Instead, I started living a double life, and Jake made it so easy. He knew exactly when Marcus was working late, exactly when I'd be free, exactly what to say to keep me coming back for more. This is what you deserve, he'd say after we had in hotel rooms paid for with his credit card. This is how a real man treats the woman he loves. I ate up every word because I was starving for affection and to realize Jake wasn't feeding me, he was me. The affair lasted 4 months. 4 months of lying to Marcus's face, 4 months of letting him plan our anniversary dinner while I was sexting his best friend, 4 months of watching my husband love a woman who didn't exist anymore. Marcus found out the way cheaters always get caught, through sheer stupidity. I left my phone unlocked on the kitchen counter while I went to shower, and Jake chose that exact moment to send a pic with a message missing you already, gorgeous. I heard Marcus's sharp intake of breath from the bathroom. Then silence. Then the sound of our front door slamming so hard it shook the entire house. He didn't come home for 3 days. When he finally did, it was with divorce papers and a suitcase. He wouldn't even look at me. With Jake? Was all he said. His voice was completely flat, like he'd already grieved and buried our marriage. My best friend Jake? I tried to explain, tried to tell him about the messages, about how lonely I'd been, about how Jake had made me feel like Marcus didn't love me anymore. Every word made it worse. Every excuse made me sound more pathetic. So it's my fault you my best friend? Marcus asked, and hearing him say it out loud made me realize how completely I destroyed everything good in my life. The divorce was swift and brutal. Marcus kept the house, I kept the debt. Our mutual friends picked sides, his side. My own family was disgusted with me. My mother actually hung up on me when I tried to explain what happened. Jake ghosted me the day Marcus filed the papers. When I called him crying, desperate for the comfort he'd promised would always be there, he let it go to voicemail. His message was clear: "The game's over, sweetheart. Find another player." That's when I realized I'd been played by a master manipulator, but it was too late to matter. I'd still made every choice. I'd still destroyed my marriage for a man who saw me as nothing more than a way to his friend. I moved into a studio apartment across town and spent my nights scrolling through social media, watching Marcus rebuild his life without me. He looked lighter somehow, like I'd been weighing him down for years without either of us realizing it. The loneliness was crushing, but the shame was worse. I'd become the woman other wives warned their husbands about. I'd become the cautionary tale people told at dinner parties. But I thought that was rock bottom. I thought losing Marcus, losing Jake, losing my entire life was the worst consequence of my choices. I had no idea what was actually coming for me. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I was still living in that depressing studio apartment, still working the same job where everyone knew exactly why my marriage had ended, still checking Marcus's Instagram like a masochist every night before bed. He'd started dating someone new, a kindergarten teacher named Sarah who had the kind of genuine smile I'd forgotten how to fake. I was spiraling in the grocery store, standing in the cereal aisle having a breakdown because Marcus and I used to fight about Cheerios versus Lucky Charms every Sunday morning, when my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. "We need to talk. Meet me at Starbucks on 5th Street in an hour. Come alone. Emma." Emma. Marcus's sister. The woman who'd been maid of honor at our wedding, who'd helped me pick out my dress, who'd cried when I told her Marcus had proposed. The same woman who hadn't spoken to me since the day the affair came out. I almost didn't go. Emma had every right to hate me, and I wasn't sure I could handle another person telling me what a worthless piece of I was. But curiosity killed whatever was left of my dignity, so I showed up. She was sitting in the corner, sunglasses on even though we were indoors, looking like she hadn't slept in weeks. When she saw me, she didn't stand up or hug me or even acknowledge that we'd once been family. She just slid her phone across the table. "Read this," she said. "All of it?" It was a group chat called Operation Homewrecker. The participants were Jake, Emma, Marcus's friend Tom, and 2 other guys I recognized from Marcus's college days. The chat had started 8 months before my affair began. 8 months. The first message was from Jake. "Marcus is too happy. It's honestly. We need to fix this. Emma, she's not even that pretty." I never understood what he saw in her. Tom agreed. "My wife thinks she's fake as. Always trying too hard." Jake, "I have an idea. What if we could get her to cheat? Marcus would dump her so fast." Emma, "How would we even do that?" Jake, "Leave that to me. I just need you guys to help sell the story that Marcus is unhappy." My hands started shaking as I scrolled through months of messages detailing their plan to destroy my marriage. They coordinated everything: Jake's late-night texts about Marcus complaining about me, Emma's subtle comments about how stressed her brother seemed, Tom's wife suddenly being too busy to hang out with me. "Emma, are you sure this will work? What if she doesn't take the bait?" Jake, "Trust me. She's already insecure. A few more pushes and she'll be begging for validation from anyone who'll give it to her." They'd studied me like a science experiment. They'd identified my weaknesses, my need for approval, my fear of abandonment, my tendency to believe the worst about myself, and they'd weaponized them. Tom, "My wife saw them at Murphy's last night. Phase 1 is working." Emma, "Good. Marcus deserves someone better. Someone who actually loves him." Jake, "Don't worry. After I'm done with her, she'll be too broken for any decent man to want." That message hit me like a physical. I looked up at Emma, who was watching me with an expression I couldn't read. "Why are you showing me this?" I whispered. "Because Jake went too far," she said, her voice barely audible. "Because what we did to you is evil, and I can't live with it anymore." I scrolled further. The messages continued throughout the entire affair, with Jake giving them play-by-play updates about our encounters. He'd shared intimate details about my body, about things I'd said during, about how desperate and pathetic I'd become. Jake, "She actually thinks I love her. It's sad, honestly." Emma, "Just finish it. Marcus is starting to ask questions about why his friends don't like his wife anymore." Jake, "Almost there. She's completely isolated now. No friends, no support system. When this comes out, she'll have nothing left." Tom, "What about after? Won't Marcus wonder why you were willing to sleep with his wife?" Jake, "I'll just say she seduced me. That she was obsessed with me and I felt sorry for her. He'll believe it." And Marcus had believed it. Because I'd been so ashamed and broken that I'd never defended myself, never explained the months of manipulation that had led to my betrayal. I just accepted that I was the villain in our story. But I wasn't the only villain. I'd been the victim and the perpetrator, the manipulated and the manipulator. I'd cheated on my husband, yes, but I'd been systematically broken down by people who were supposed to care about us both. "Why?" I asked Emma. "Why did you hate me so much?" She finally took off her sunglasses, and I could see that she'd been crying. Because Marcus loved you more than he'd ever loved anyone, and I was jealous. Because you got the fairy tale I always wanted. Because I'm a miserable person who couldn't stand to see my brother happy. And now? Now Marcus is with Sarah, and she's perfect for him in all the ways you never were. And I realized that I didn't just destroy your marriage, I destroyed my relationship with my brother. He found out about the group chat last week. My heart stopped. He knows? He knows everything. About the manipulation, about Jake's plan, about my part in it. He won't speak to any of us anymore. He says he can never trust his own judgment again because the people closest to him spent months lying to his face. I thought about Marcus, about how he'd looked at me with such betrayed confusion when he found those messages. He thought his wife had betrayed him with his best friend out of nowhere, for no reason other than pure selfishness. He'd never known about the campaign to destroy his marriage, never known that his own sister had orchestrated his heartbreak. What happens now? I asked. Emma stood up, putting her sunglasses back on. Now we all live with what we've done. Marcus is happy with Sarah, but he'll never trust anyone completely again. Jake is bragging to people about how he saved Marcus from a cheating wife. And you and I have to wake up every day knowing we destroyed the best thing that ever happened to us. She walked away without another word, leaving me alone with her phone and the evidence of the most sophisticated emotional manipulation I'd never seen coming. I screenshot every message, every cruel comment, every detail of their plan. Not because I thought it would change anything, Marcus was happy now, moved on, in love with someone who deserved him. But because I needed proof that I wasn't crazy, that the loneliness and confusion I'd felt in the months before the affair had been real. I'd still made the choice to cheat. I'd still betrayed my husband and destroyed our marriage. But I'd been set up to fail by people who should have protected us both. The truth didn't make me feel better. If anything, it made everything worse, because now I knew that Marcus and I had been collateral damage in other people's cruelty, and there was no going back. That was 3 years ago. 3 years since Emma showed me those messages, 3 years since I learned that my marriage had been sabotaged by the very people who should have protected it, 3 years since I realized that I'd been both victim and villain in the destruction of the only real love I'd ever known. Marcus married Sarah last spring. I saw the photos on Instagram before I finally blocked him, not because I was over him, but because seeing him genuinely happy with someone else was what was left of my soul. She wore a dress similar to mine, but somehow it looked better on her. More natural. Like she belonged in it. Emma tried to reach out a few more times after that coffee meeting, sending long texts about guilt and forgiveness and making amends. I never responded. What was the point? We'd both participated in destroying something beautiful, and no amount of apologies would bring it back. Jake married some 22-year-old influencer he met on a dating app. She has no idea she's married to a sociopath who gets off on destroying other people's relationships. I almost warned her, but then I remembered how I'd felt when people tried to warn me about things I wasn't ready to hear. Some lessons you have to learn the hard way. I've been in therapy for 2 years now. Dr. Martinez is patient and kind and keeps telling me that I was manipulated, that I need to forgive myself, that I can't let other people's cruelty define the rest of my life. She's probably right, but knowing something intellectually and feeling it emotionally are two different things. The hardest part isn't the loneliness, though that's been crushing. It's not even the shame, though I still can't walk into certain restaurants or stores without wondering if people are whispering about me. The hardest part is knowing that I'll never trust my own judgment again. Every man who's shown interest in me since the divorce gets subjected to intense scrutiny. Is he being genuine, or is this some elaborate game? Are his friends really supportive of our relationship, or are they secretly working to sabotage it? When he says he loves me, is he telling the truth, or is he just a better liar than I am a lie detector? I've been on exactly 3 dates in 3 years. All disasters. Not because the men were terrible, but because I was. I'd interrogate them about their motivations, demand to see their phones, ask their friends invasive questions about their true intentions. I've become the paranoid, jealous woman I used to judge. The irony isn't lost on me. Jake and Emma and the others wanted to break me, and they succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. I'm not just divorced, I'm fundamentally damaged. They turned me into someone incapable of trusting love when it's offered, someone who sees manipulation and betrayal even where none exists. I moved away from our old town last year. Fresh start, new job, people who don't know my history. It should have helped, but shame follows you everywhere. It's in the way you introduce yourself without mentioning an ex-husband, in the careful editing of stories that used to include a partner, in the hollow feeling when coworkers talk about their marriages and you have nothing to contribute. My new therapist here, Dr. Chen, asked me an interesting question last week. If you could go back and change one thing, what would it be? I told her I'd choose not to cheat, of course. I'd go home that night instead of meeting Jake at the bar. I'd show Marcus the manipulative texts instead of falling for them. But would you? She asked. Or would you change the fact that you trusted the wrong people? That question has been haunting me. Because the truth is, I don't know if I would have handled the manipulation differently even if I'd recognized it. I was so desperate for love and attention, so convinced that I was unworthy of my husband's devotion, that I might have fallen for Jake's lies no matter how obvious they were. I found out last month that Marcus and Sarah are expecting their first child. A mutual acquaintance mentioned it casually, not knowing she was twisting a knife in my chest. Marcus is going to be a father. We used to talk about having kids together, used to argue about names and schools and whether we'd be the kind of parents who let their children sleep in their bed. Now he's building that family with someone else, someone who never betrayed him, someone who doesn't carry the stench of infidelity and lies. Sarah will give him children who will never have to wonder if their mother is capable of destroying everything good in their lives. I still love him? That's the pathetic truth I can barely admit to myself. After everything I did, everything that was done to us, everything that's happened since, I still love Marcus with a kind of desperate intensity that makes me question my sanity. I dream about him sometimes. Not dreams, those stopped years ago. I dream about ordinary moments. Making coffee together on Sunday mornings. Arguing about what to watch on Netflix. Him falling asleep on the couch and me covering him with a blanket. Simple, domestic moments that I away for a few months of validation from a man who saw me as target practice. The worst part is that I know Marcus loved me. Really, genuinely loved me. Not the broken, suspicious woman I became, but the woman I was before Jake and Emma and the others started their psychological warfare. Marcus loved me enough to marry me, to plan a future with me, to trust me completely even when his own family and friends were telling him not to. I destroyed that love through my choices, yes, but our marriage was by people who claimed to care about us both. And now Marcus will never know how much he was loved, because the woman who loved him was too damaged and desperate to protect what they had. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Emma had never shown me those messages. If I'd gone to my grave believing that I destroyed my marriage entirely through my own selfishness and weakness. Would that have been easier? Would the guilt without the anger have been more manageable? But then I remember Jake's message, after I'm done with her, she'll be too broken for any decent man to want. He was right. Mission accomplished. I am too broken for any decent man to want. I've become exactly what they designed me to become, a cautionary tale about what happens when you trust the wrong people and make the wrong choices. I have a job now, and a small apartment, and a therapist who thinks I can heal. I have acquaintances who don't know my history, and hobbies that keep me busy, and a routine that gets me through each day. From the outside, I probably look like a woman who's rebuilding her life after a difficult divorce. But inside, I'm still standing in that group chat, reading messages about how my husband's family and friends spent months plotting my destruction. I'm still the woman who was so starved for love that she fell for the most obvious manipulation in history. I'm still the wife who betrayed her husband and then discovered she'd been set up to fail from the beginning. 3 years later, I still don't know who I'm supposed to blame more, them for orchestrating my downfall, or me for being weak enough to fall for it. What I do know is that some damage is permanent. Some choices echo through the rest of your life, creating a ripple effect of consequences you never saw coming. Some people are designed to destroy beautiful things, and some people are enough to let them. I was both the weapon and the target in the destruction of my own marriage, and now I have to live with that knowledge for the rest of my life. The people who broke me have moved on. Marcus has moved on. The only person still trapped in the wreckage of that group chat is me. And maybe that's exactly what I deserve for being the kind of woman who could be turned into a weapon against the man she loved most in the world.